Well, good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a relatively short video for what I usually do, even though I don't do many videos, but whatever. To get straight to the point for those eager to upgrade or build a completely new rig. Well, it's more for people who wanted to build a new rig. Um, for the upcoming Ampere launch because they are astonishing in terms of performance and so forth. So, and I'm going to explain the reasons why. I've got three lists. Two of them are quite similar, to be honest. But yeah, I'm going to explain why I've chosen certain parts and to go from there. So let's go to like if you wanted if you had just under £1,000 budget and you wanted a complete new rig and you wanted 2080 Ti equivalent performance, which you would get with the 3070. Um, so let's have a look at this. And of course, when you look at the processor, it's a very funny processor launch because it's very hard to get hold of. Even though apparently it's going to come. Well, they say it's going to arrive soon. Where is it? For example, on Amazon. Um, I did have a thing where it said 11th of September, but that's now gone. But we will. I will give you an equivalent processor, I guess. But if you can, because the 300X, yep, that's it. Is equivalent to the 3600, and of course it is right on the wire because it only is a 4-core, 8-thread processor, but it is like when you compared it with the 2080 Ti, it actually hardly bottlenecked the 2080 Ti, mostly at higher resolutions at 1440p or above. So it is like if you really want to just get the 3070, but you have under £1,000 budget, and you want to spend maybe more on RGB elements or whatever, or extra fans, then you can go for that processor. But then with the vision of upgrading later on. But if you can't get a hold of this processor, which is most likely, you can just swap it out for a 3600, which would be another £50 more, which is still have us underneath the grand budget, which is very good. But yes, I chose the Gigabyte B550M Aorus Elite because it's a very good price for 109 for B550, and that will definitely. B550 platform is a very good platform for well, because of PCI Gen 4, and as you can see, the power of these new graphics cards, you most likely you probably will be a performance hit between Gen 3 compared to Gen 4. The percentage of that hit though is up in the air because there's no one's got these cards yet, so they can't really test them. But it's always good to especially as you B450s are pretty much the same price, so you might as well just go for the B550 and just call it a day until you upgrade, like in 4 years' time or 3 years' time with the DDR5 or a DDR5 memory platform. But anyway, yes, I'm waffling, but that's a very good. It's a micro ATX. But of course we're on the wire, so we want to make sure that we can get very good performance, but for as cheaply as possible, but without impacting performance that much. And of course this, Patriot Vipers for the Blackout series is a very good kit, especially for that price. But any equivalent kits would also be good, but make sure it's free 200 megahertz. Pick this one because it's apparently good for overclocking a little bit, and it's just super cheap. If you wanted RGB memory, just look for their Corsair's versions, or Patriot do RPG as well, because you still got a little bit to spend if you're, for example, under £1,000. And of course, the RTX 3070 is rumored to come out at 470. That's the cheapest coolers though. So if you wanted a fancy cooler with RGB on it, then you might have to spend a bit more. But again, this is budget orientated, so the cheapest one you can get, like a Zotac one, or maybe a Gigabyte. A Gigabyte in last gen, the 2000 series, did probably the best cooler to the cost performance out there. So yeah, look at Gigabyte, and they also do a very good job at cooling the graphics card. And of course, we need a 650 watt power supply as a minimum, so that's what we got. And power supplies are a bit of a pain in the butt to get because of the whole COVID situation really impacting the manufacturer's capability of producing them. But yeah, Corsair is a good brand. CV650 is a budget orientated one, but is made with fairly decent components, not AliExpress capacitors and all sorts of stuff like that. And it's 80 plus. I think it's a bronze, if I remember rightly. 52 quid for a 650 watt, even now, is a very good price, or even before COVID, shall we say. And of course, right, I completely scrapped the idea of having like a Seagate 2 terabyte drive because, again, you could always chuck one in. It's like just over 50 quid, but I'm thinking of the minimum amount of well, basically one of the best gaming rig, but to be able to do that for as cheaply as possible, but actually also getting very good components. Initially, I took that hard drive out because you can always just add one on later. Once you took the big hit of buying the rig, and then once you start to run out of space or you want extra space, so your hard drive is easy to get, even a portable one, stick it in, whatever. So hard drives are easy to get later on, but I decided to scrap that, so I have that budget, but well, saving a bit of money. We're also getting a almost a terabyte of SSD storage, so you have enough for your operating system and also quite a few games and so forth. Especially if you're one like me who just basically likes to stream things like Netflix and Spotify and stuff like that. You don't need space. I've got like a 3 terabyte external drive, and I've still got 2.4 gigabytes left. That's with all the pictures I've ever taken in my life and all that sort of stuff. So it's just like, well, why do I have a 3 terabyte drive if I'm not going to use it? And so yeah, so there you go. And Adata is a cheap brand, but to be honest, they have got good reviews. The speed is pretty good. It's a 500 megabytes per second, roughly read and write, if I remember rightly. You don't get much more for if you went for a more reliable brand like Samsung or whatever, with a SATA-based SSD, you don't get faster because it's limited to 550 megabytes per second. So, and of course the case, 30 quid. Get the one that is the most. Hopefully includes a fan. And of course, with the leftover budget, if you have a grand, that is, you can always buy, or definitely recommend to buy one or two external additional fans to put into it to make sure there's adequate airflow. And it's amazing what sort of case you can get for 30 quid. Of course, it's going to be cheap, not going to be a great case in terms of aesthetics, but at the end of the day, if you're on a budget, that's what you have to do. I've been there, whatever. So yeah, that's that. And now we're going to go over to the one where you want more than 2080 Ti. This is where we want the RTX 380, but you want a system that will be able to power it sufficiently. And this is where the Ryzen 5 3600. That's the minimum CPU I'd probably recommend. It is like the great performance CPU. To be honest, you don't need a super fast CPU, especially if you're running at high resolution and you're really using all the graphics card strength, because it's just the CPU. People overestimate the power that basically the importance of the CPU. It's just most of the work's being done by the GPU, so as long as you don't have a potato CPU, it's fine. Just get a very good, adequate, especially Zen 2 architecture Ryzen processor. So yeah, Ryzen 5 3600 for 170. It used to be between 150 and 160, but for some reason they're going up recently, so that's a bit sucky. And of course, I went for an Aorus Elite B550 ATX. This is the ATX version of the Micro ATX one before, because you want when you're on a slightly higher budget. It's good to have a full-size motherboard, so you have extra stuff to, extra expandability and so forth in there. Oh yes, this RAM, if you've seen like one of my previous videos, is the kick-ass RAM. You can't get anywhere close to the performance for this price, especially 100 quid. As you can see here, I've tested it with my RAM sticks. I can get better than this, but it's so easy to get CL14 speed 3600. Or if you're not one to really delve into overclocking RAM, which I don't blame you, because it is fairly tedious to get to tinker it all. Just utilize the what's it called, the DOCP, and call it a day. It's still going to be very good RAM. And of course the RTX 3080, the basic ones will be costing 650 apparently. That's what I've heard. They can go up to 700, but I believe, like for example, the Asus ROG Strix card is going to be like 850 quid, which is they're great callers, but can you justify another 200 quid for that? Especially if you're not if you're frugal like me. No, let's just say that. Now, yes, but back to power supply units. So use this name apprehensively because um, is Aerocool. I recognise that brand, but they're not like a brand I would totally recommend to go for. But apparently, with this PSU, they do use. They say they use Japanese capacitors, which is definitely the ones you still want. It is bronze rated 80 plus, so at least it has some sort of reliability, especially if it can produce power at a certain efficiency and it's got bronze. Then it does communicate that at least it's not a trash power supply unit. But 750 watts for 70 quid is actually really good because for some reason, as soon as you go from 650 to 750, the average price goes from 60 to 100. So it's a massive leap, but you need a 750 watt power supply as a minimum for the 3080. So that's why I got this. But if you can go for one of these other brands, let me just wheel this over. Um, Yes, sorry, I was worried that people couldn't see. Yes, these names are really good, like EVGA, Be Quiet, Seasonic, especially Seasonic. Most of the other brands actually just use Seasonic PSUs, but they put their own branding on it, and their own RGB or whatever, or modular variants and so on. Seasonic's a very good brand. So if you can get one of these brands for roughly between 70 or 90, and also Corsairs do very good. I've got the Corsair RX 850M. It's a really good power supply units. They probably do probably the best ones. But yeah, as long as you get a reliable one, do not be tempted with a cheap power supply unit because you will regret it. Most certainly. It's just some links here. So you got Corsair. Uh, yeah, so it's hard to find a good power supply unit for a good price at the moment. Right, where are we? Back to blah. And of course a case, 50 quid. And of course the same SSD, because you want to save money here. So there's a 1263. There's a lot of money, but but bearing in mind this rig will be able to be game basically twice as better than most 2080 Ti systems at the moment. And yeah, it's just going to be balls blazing for at least 2 years, possibly more. But if you want to really ensure that, like, next list is literally almost the same as this. However, I've swapped out the CPU and so forth. And this is for like 1% lows, like one of those massive explosions, or you really want to ensure that you've got the highest frames per second as possible. But not wasting money. Like, don't go for a 3900X or anything above because it's just not worth it. You could go Intel, but you're spending loads more money on like the 10900K, but it's not worth it. The only time you actually see a noticeable difference is if you're running like one of these cards at 1080p or 1440p in this case, because it can be able to launch frames per second into the sky, but it's just not worth it. So yeah, this is power as I call it. This rig, the Ryzen 7 3700X. Very good price at the moment for that actual processor, 275. Sometimes the 3800X is cheaper than the 3700X, but at the moment it's not. If I show you where it is, here we go. So boom, it's at 275. Very good price. I haven't seen it below 270, so it's as cheap as it will get until Ryzen 4000 series comes out anyway. And of course, if you see here, it's 320. That's a lot of money. I got my 3800X, as you can see here, 7th. For like 280. That was a very good price at the time, but it's pretty much the same processor, just this one clock's a little bit high, as you can see here. This is the maximum boost, 4.4. This goes to 4.5, but it says processor speed. It's Amazon. They can't get their listings right, but there you go, 4.5, boom. Yes, so that's and the only other difference is what else did I do? Oh yeah, the case. Spend a little bit more money on a case. Good airflow is very important. So that's it. You don't need to spend any more than this, apart from like aesthetics, or if you want to have more especially a super fancy case, or loads of RGB, water cooling, and stuff like that. But if you just want the maximum performance for and a system that will be able to cool itself sufficiently, then I don't see you needing to spend more than 1,418. Didn't include anything including the 1390 because it's just well, if you have that sort of money, then you just would buy whatever, because it's going to be like more than because it's more than double the price of the 3080, isn't it? It's like 1,500, so it's going to be like 3 grand plus, no, 2.5 grand at least. And it's just not needed unless you want 8K or 4K at 144 more frames per second. Even though I believe the 3080 will be able to do that. Well, 100 to 144. But yeah, no, this will be a super good rig. There's no bottlenecks here. So yeah, that's my list basically. Oh yeah, one thing for anyone who likes to mount their cards vertically, I haven't heard anyone say anything about this, but I'm gonna say it's going to be probably a fairly significant problem. So if you look at, especially because most of the aftermarket coolers, they have the same sort of setup as how they cool the card as the Founders Edition. So if we go back to here, like the 3080, so face, yeah, whatever. So if you look at, I don't know, let's choose one like this one, and if you're mounting it vertically, it hasn't got a photo. Let me just find. But basically, as you know, you probably don't know, but the PCB, which is like the core, the part of the graphics card where all the chips and so on are on, the coolers is what envelops it all, is actually half the size of most 2080s. And because of that, the third fan actually is hollow, so it goes all the way through. Let me just try and find. I think this one had a backwards. So, well, that's a poor one, but most of them have like a vent in the back. This has a not many, but you basically get my point. Loads of coolers have like this. All this is open. If you're mounting it vertically, that is going to be um, blowing all the hot air directly onto a motherboard's chipset. And quite a few motherboards are running on the wire as it is, especially MSI ones, MSI boards that run hot just with the 2000 series, where they designed to expel the air all around them rather than down or up. So that's going to be interesting. I wouldn't really recommend probably mounting one of the, especially air-cooled one, vertically, because you may end up having coolant issues, not coolant issues, what am I saying? Cooling issues, because it'll be all that hot air being blown directly onto the chip. And of course, if you have a strong airflow case, I could see some of that being mitigated. But then, when you think about it, it's going to be 3 fans, and a lot of these cases or shrouds. Oh, this one's not actually; they're all open. But quite a few of these shrouds, are actually, the side here is all blocked up with plastic. So they've probably designed it like the Founders Edition to blow all the air through, and then this way, and then downwards. So all the airflow powered by 3 fans blowing all the way down and downwards like this. Would even strong airflow from the front of the case won't do. It still wouldn't counter the amount of velocity of the air going onto the chipset. So that's going to be interesting, possibly interesting problem for anyone who wants to mount these cars vertically. This one's not really a good one to show. Should have looked into it actually, remembered which card to show. But yeah, but that's one thing I've noticed. I haven't heard anyone say anything about that, so that's a bit interesting. As you can see, it's 800 for that one. Damn. Maybe this one. Is this the one? Oh. No, that one's on completely flat. Well, that one's fine. That's like a traditional. There's MSI as well. Don't recommend MSI at the moment. Asus. Well, quite a few of them don't have that. But just bearing in mind, this one, yeah, this is the one. This is the one. So it has all that there. So all that hot air is going to be blown through. So bear in mind, so if you want to mount yours vertically, try and go for one which hasn't got a pass-through. That's my recommendation. But yes, I hope that proved useful. How long has it been going on for? I record it using what's it called? OBS, so I don't know. Hopefully, I haven't waffled too much, but hopefully that's been useful to someone at least. But a bit of a geek, so I know what is good at the moment. So hope this has been useful. But yeah, on second thoughts, yeah, it's better even on a budget to get the 53600, especially if still have a grand. You got like 80 quid to spend. Even if you upgraded that to the 53600, then added more fans and stuff, you'd still be under the grand budget. But it's amazing what sort of rig you can get now, even with the COVID situation impacting prices of power supply units, uh, and so forth. It's just great because when you also think about it, we're at the end now of DDR4, and that platform is very much matured, and it's a good time to build a PC now. Especially as basically motherboards are relatively cheap. CPUs are amazing because of the competition there, especially from the Ryzen systems. RAM is very cheap, and yeah, and also yes, SSDs are very cheap as well. They're going down in price. So yeah, hope that proved useful to someone. And thanks for watching. Toodaloo.